Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee with 9 years of experience and over 1,200 matches under my belt. You can find me at refsneedlove2.com and on TikTok. And on Insta. This month, we will discuss my 4 matches of futsal yesterday, not football, futsal yesterday. The difference is what we could possibly apply to soccer on an outside pitch, and working out to be a ref, and then one letter from the mailbag. So we got a full show today. Stay tuned. First off, I work out to ref. Sincerely, I don't ref to work out. I mean, yes, I'm thankful for the benefits of working out on the pitch, but I know, especially at my age, I am not working out. If I'm not working out during the week, there's no way that I can do what I want to do on the pitch on the weekends. And sincerely, I mean, I'm definitely always nervous about being injured, whether it's my knees or an Achilles. And I'm so thankful that I personally feel really good these days, especially even, after I'm on the pitch for a couple of matches. I work with a number of refs who have, messed up knees, messed up ankles, their feet's in pain, their back is in pain. And so I'm pretty thankful right now that I feel good out there, and that enables me to do, what I feel like I need to do on the pitch. And if a match requires me to run 5 miles, I can run 5 miles. And if it requires me to move 6 miles, I can do 6 miles. So I feel good out there. When you look at the top refs, I mean, they are just in pristine condition. I mean, fitness to the extreme, especially our refs here in America. I mean, when I look at those MLS officials, and whether it's Rivas or Ismail or any of the, those top refs that you see out there, the Pensos, my gosh, they are just in unbelievable tip-top condition, because they know that positioning is so much more important as you work up to those higher levels of the game, and they have to be in perfect position to make a call, whether it's the first minute or the 90th minute. And that is definitely inspiring to me. But it requires us as officials, if you do want to work higher level games, and even if you don't want to go professional, I mean, again, I don't have any aspirations of being a professional referee, but I want my assigner to know that when they have a top level match in our area, that they could trust me to handle it, especially at the youth level. And then even at that semi-professional level, not necessarily ADASL, but UPSL would be something that I could center in my area. And I want them to trust that I could handle it. When I work out, and this is just a general thing, no matter however crappy I may be feeling on a certain day, I feel good. I feel better mentally and physically. Just, the endorphins that release. But when I'm done, I feel better because I've invested in myself. And it's just like when I finish a match on the field, I feel good that I ref that match. Even if it was a difficult match, I'm glad that I went through that and I learned from that and it challenged me. And I feel good that I experienced that. Now, I will say, so yesterday was interesting. I love running on the pitch, but I hate running off of it. Okay, I love running on a soccer pitch during a match, but man, I hate just running. Whether it's treadmill or outside, it is painful. But I know that I need to start doing more outside running if I'm ever going to pass that regional fitness test, ever. So yesterday, I got up early and I decided I'm going to go do a run. So, got my runners on and it was like overcast out there, but it was fine. But it is the first time I did a jog outside in my neighborhood for months. I mean, I think it might be like 4 or 5 months since the last time I did it. I just hate running just to run. Like if you got headphones or you're watching something on a television, okay, I can run for a while on that. But man, just running out there, oof, my gosh, not my thing. I mean, as I've stated before on this podcast, I am not a natural runner. But yesterday, I set out to run yesterday because I know I need to start making those type of investments and getting used to running on the ground, not on a treadmill, if I'm ever going to pass that fitness test. So I set out without my phone or headphones. And you know what? It was actually pretty therapeutic. I had some deep thoughts out there. I saw a bunch of deer. I scared a couple deer. I was jogging through the neighborhood. I saw sunrise, which was pretty. But, mentally, it was actually really interesting and powerful. First and foremost, I went twice as far as I thought I would. So it's interesting that you can mentally set a limit on what your body can do. Like you doubt what your body can actually do as opposed to just going out there and seeing what you can do. You mentally say, oh, I think I'm only going to be able to do, a mile or whatever that might be. And so it was interesting. I actually went close to about 2 miles, and it's what's really interesting is my neighborhood is exceptionally hilly. So I know like the route that I went, like there was going to be a really big, long hill. Like my neighborhood, actually the street I live on, it's not avenue or street, it's called hill. That's the suffix of my street. So it's a hilly neighborhood. And so, it's like the highest point in the neighborhood. But I know if I head out one certain direction, and I make a right, man, it's going to be, down a little bit to a creek, and then it's going to be uphill pretty much for I'd say about 0.8 of a mile straight. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make the whole thing. But I went out there and I just ran. And, when you look at the hill out in front of you, it may look really big and long, but if you stay in the moment, and maybe you set your gaze, 40 or 50 feet out in front of you, as opposed to, say, 1,000 feet out in front of you. And you just focus on, 1 foot in front of the other, keeping a good pace, keeping, your breathing in check, really focusing on staying calm and in the moment, that you can pretty much manage anything. It's just one step at a time. It's just like, any great journey always begins with one small step. And so I just kept on going. And then when I got to the top of that big hill, at the end of the street was just like right out there in the front of me. I was like, oh my gosh, I got this. And so I did it, and it was great. And I headed back to my house. And, when I got to my street of my house, it was so funny. I thought that was going to be the worst hill there was. But, once I've already done that other really, really big hill, I looked at my street and I was like, oh, that's not so bad at all. Dude, I could sprint up this thing. And so I really did. I gave it my best effort. I huffed up that street, and then I walked like the last, 500 feet back to my house and just kind of was chilling, but felt great. And my wife was pulling out of the driveway and she's like, wait, aren't you reffing today? Why are you running? And I was like, baby, don't worry. It's futsal. There's a difference. And so I'm going to talk to you guys about futsal, in a moment. But I will just say, when you build things up in your mind to be difficult, it always is worse than it actually is. Sometimes we just need to just stay in the moment and just, trust ourselves that we can handle pretty much anything. As long as we stay in the moment, we stay calm, we put in the effort, we can do anything. And I felt great after that run. And again, for maybe it's all in my mind, the fact that I hate running. Maybe I actually like running. I wonder if it's just a mental switch that I need to make. And then I'm going to all of a sudden really enjoy going out on runs. I don't know. I certainly think I'm not a marathoner or anything like that, but maybe a good 30-minute run every now and then might do me some good outside, which would be fun. All right. So now for what I did yesterday. So my wife caught me, right before I was going to be heading out to go do some futsal. Well, actually, it was a little later in the morning. It wasn't right afterwards. But my friend here in Atlanta actually runs the Atlanta Futsal Academy. So it's a pretty big academy of futsal. They've got all different age groups that are in his league, and they play other academies in the area and in the region. And the funny thing about this coach, Coach Allen, he was my son's first soccer coach. When they played like midgets or whatever you call them, or I don't remember what the word is. That it's probably properly not midgets. I'm so sorry if I offended anyone. But the little kids, itty bitties, when my son was 3 years old, and Coach Allen literally was my inspiration for me being a soccer coach. And so, we had such an amazing experience with him, and Jacob so fell in love with soccer through Coach Allen being his first coach. And we had him for like 2 years in a row at 3 years old and 4 years old. And then when Jacob was ready for U6, I was his coach, and U8 and U10 and U12. But I modeled my coaching style after Coach Allen. And so it's such a thrill to be able to work with him. He's a high school coach in our area, so I get to see him there. And then he also runs some other clinics, and my son does some work for him during the summer as well. But he runs a futsal league. And in the winter times, I try and work for him. And so I didn't get to work for him last year. Scheduling didn't work out, but I did work a year before. So it's been 2 years since I had actually done futsal refereeing. And I will tell you, I mean, wow, sometimes it feels like a completely different sport in some ways. It is so fast paced. So you as the referee are on the sideline, the touchline, if you will. And we ran a duel yesterday. So there was a referee on the other side, and I was the ref on one side. And so, but man, it is so fast. So I'm going to talk you through some of the differences between soccer and futsal, and then maybe even discuss how that might be helpful if those were actually in the game of soccer. So first off, it's not like indoor soccer. Like indoor can be 11v11 indoors. Sometimes I've seen it 7v7. For futsal, the teams are comprised of 4 outfield players and 1 goalkeeper. So 4 outfield players and 1 goalkeeper. There are no throw-ins in futsal. So you always restart play, okay, if it goes out of bounds on the sideline or on the goal line for a corner kick with a kick-in. It's very interesting. So the defending player has to stand about 5 yards back. So a little different from soccer, where we have a throw-in if the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline, and then you can be 2 yards away. This one, you have to be 5 yards away. So a kick-in can be, definitely an attacking play, but you do not get a lot of time to think about setting up that attacking play. If the ball goes out of bounds, as soon as you have possession and you're on that sideline or you're ready to take that corner kick, you have 4 seconds to take that kick. And you actually have to count that out as the referee. You make this motion with your hand out to the side like they do in basketball. It's like a 1, 2, 3. And if it's 4 seconds, the other team gets the kick. So it's got to be really fast. I mean, it is so high intensity and fast pace. I think I forgot to say this. So there's 2 24-minute halves. It's a 48-minute game with like a 5-minute halftime. And man, it is just boom, 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 boom. As soon as the ball's out, it's back in. As soon as the ball's out, it's back in. It's like crazy, crazy fast. The other thing that was really difficult for me to mentally just like get my head out of is there's no offsides I said offsides. Offside, excuse me. There's no offside in futsal. And so I'm running a duel like I would in high school, and I kept catching myself like trying to stay on the second to last defender or second to last opponent, if you will. And you don't need to do that in futsal. You just really want to stay in kind of close to where the play is so that you can make a proper call. So, but there's no offside, which I thought was really interesting and kept on like blowing my mind as someone would play a ball like through to someone who would be standing, just like 5 feet away or 10 feet away from the goalkeeper. It was pretty wild for me. Other things, teams are allowed a timeout. They're allowed 1 timeout, a half, and timeout has to be when your team is in possession of the ball and the ball's out of play. So let's say you're about to take a kick in or the goalkeeper is about to restart. That's right. It's not a goal kick, but about to restart. And then you can call a timeout, which I think is kind of cool too. There are no goal kicks in futsal. And oh my gosh, I swear, I did 4 matches yesterday. And even in the last match of the game, I kept saying goal kick, but it's not. It's just, it's like goalie restart. I don't even know what you're supposed to say. Maybe you don't say anything. You just say goalie or something like that. But there's no goal kick. So when the ball goes out of bounds, past the goal line, and it was kicked by the opposing team, if you will, by the attacking team, the defending goalkeeper goes and grabs the ball, and they can restart the ball with their hands. So they don't kick it. They're not allowed to drop the ball down to their feet. They actually roll the ball out with their hands, or they could throw the ball all the way down to an attacker on the other side of the court. So, I mean, it's completely different. So it's really fast. And again, it's a 4-second count. So, I mean, I know we talk a lot in soccer about, delay of, the restart and, the 6-second rule for keepers. Dude, that is not a thing in futsal because you're counting 1, 2, 3. And if they do not restart, the other team gets an indirect free kick right from what it would be the top of the arc. If you're American, it's like a basketball, arc for 3-pointers. Similar in futsal, although a little tighter in than the 3-point line. So really interesting on that one. So the game never slows down. Keeper never has an opportunity to slow the game down and take the air out of the game, if you will. It's always moving. So very fascinating. Okay, substitutions. Okay, you know how in soccer, player like slowly walks off the field and, says hi to all of his buddies before he heads off. And it's like, no. In futsal, it is literally anytime during the run of play, you may substitute. But the substitute has to be in the technical area in front of your team's bench. And the person you're substituting for has to be completely off the court or like 1 foot off the court before the next player can run onto the court. So it's like, you think about this. I mean, it's just like literally boom, boom, boom. So it's like during the game is going, if another team has a kick in, you can try and quickly run off, but you may be running off and they may be restarting the play while you only have 3 outfield players on the pitch. So substitutions do not slow the game down either. Now this is interesting. This next one, we didn't do direct free kick foul accumulations, but I love this as well. So we're going to do this the next time. Yesterday was just scrimmages, but I've got a league match coming up that I'm going to ref next Sunday. And if you accumulate 6 fouls in a half, just like American basketball, the opposing team gets a direct free kick from kind of the top of that arc. So again, it's another thing to keep the game moving and to not have the game being slowed down with fouls, which again, I loved. It was just absolutely, it was wild out there. So many things about it. I mean, first off, just can we talk about the court and these kids playing out there on this court? So for us, we played in a basketball court. So it was at a local middle school. So it was a decent size basketball court. And there's no walls on the court, just like a basketball court. And the skills that you have to use for these kids is completely different from soccer. I mean, if you see a kid on a soccer pitch who's played some futsal, just because they're using the sole of their foot to be able to control the ball, the type of 1-2 type combinations that they can do out there. It is just so amazing. I mean, I saw some kids do some moves yesterday that you just could never see, on a soccer pitch, on grass, with cleats. I mean, it's just a very specific type of skill and move that was just so unbelievably impressive, to say the least. So really, really enjoyed watching it. And it gives you hope for soccer in America when you see these kids working on their futsal skills out there. So it really is fantastic. I don't know that there's many kids in the United States who spend all of their time doing futsal as their sport. I think they just play it in the off season when the weather turns bad, or in between seasons, like it is here in America right now, or at least here in Georgia. But my gosh, more kids need to be playing futsal. Unbelievable how different it is, but how helpful it would be for them on the pitch. We see kids doing rondos in workout, in warm-ups for soccer matches. My gosh, futsal is like one big rondo with a goal, like nonstop. It is a small-sided game that never quits. And I tell you, as a referee, I mean, you can never stop. I mean, it's like your concentration has to be on non-stop. You get no breaks. Just like those kids aren't taking any breaks out there, you get no breaks out there. It is so unbelievably fast. I will say I struggled with foul recognition in my first 3 games. And I actually went up and talked to the coaches after the 3rd game. And I was like, listen, I feel like I could have called 10 more fouls in that game. And I did call a number of fouls, but more of the common like trips and pretty obvious pushes in the back or something of that nature. But because the game is so tight, you have a number of people in a very tight area, there seems to be a lot of contested balls where people are using their feet and they're both kicking out or trying to win possession of a ball. But one thing that we talked about is that any barging at all, like on a soccer field, some people are running long distances, and if someone barges someone into the back, they'll fall over, and it's pretty obvious that that's a call. But on a hard court, people are not, first off, they don't have that long to run into someone else, but also you don't want people falling on that court because it hurts. I mean, it's a hard floor. So what we discussed was that really any push at all into the back, anything where it's not a very fair challenge for the ball, either from the side with the appropriate amount of force or from the front, that we should start calling a foul on for any type of charging or barging from the back. And so we picked up our fouls in that fourth game, and it kept it a lot cleaner. And so I'm going to do that as we move to the next match that I do for them. But, anytime you do something new, there is a learning curve. And I definitely felt like it was a massive learning curve for me as a referee yesterday. I mean, it almost makes me feel like a first-time referee. Just like when we see those new refs out there, at the beginning of the season, and they look like a deer in headlights, like what is going on in here? Like I felt like that. I tried to, keep a good face and pretend like I'm an experienced futsal referee out there. But man, I tell you, I was questioning myself a lot, especially, again, every time the goalkeeper, was taking a goal distribution, not a goal kick. I was like, why is he doing that? Like in my mind, put the ball down. It was crazy. One other thing that was really interesting about the goalkeeper is that the goalkeeper, when they restart the play with a throw, they cannot kick the ball again. They cannot kick the ball again until the other team possesses the ball or touches the ball. So if you restart the ball as a goalkeeper, your team cannot pass the ball back to you. Otherwise, it's an indirect free kick for the other team. I tell you, again, that was another one of those things that was just blowing my mind every time I needed to call it. It was crazy because it's just so different from soccer where that's just a normal play for the center back or the fullback to pass the ball back to the keeper and switch the ball around the pitch. So I don't know. It was fascinating. I just want to say a lot of fun for me personally, and mentally challenging. And I'm really looking forward to doing some more futsal this offseason. And I just want to encourage you that if you have a futsal league in your area, reach out. It could be an opportunity for you to ref. I will tell you, so for me, he paid me $25 a game. So 4 games, it was $100. Is it as much as I would normally ref for, the amount of time that I invested outdoors? No, but I didn't run as hard. It wasn't as physically draining for me. And it was a lot of fun. Indoors, they had music playing, like they had not necessarily like techno, but dance music, like some popular music, whatnot, like on the stereo, like playing. And it was like fun in there. Like I was, moving a little to the beat. Like it was great. So highly encourage you to check out futsal as a referee if you haven't done it yet. Okay, so now to the mailbag. I love when I get messages from young referees asking questions. This one was really interesting because this is a young referee about 18 years of age, and they want to ask about, is this, is what I'm doing as a referee, is it something that you can live on, financially, which I think is really interesting. So I'm going to read you his message to me, and I'm going to answer the questions that he asked me. Okay, here it goes. As I'm thinking about what I want to do in my adult life, one of the things that most is appealing to me is continuing to be a soccer referee into adulthood. Of course, I know that for almost all refs, this is not a full-time job. So I wanted to ask you a little about your experience has been balancing refereeing and another job. If you don't mind me asking, what else do you do for work? And is that other work a full-time job? So I work usually for B2B companies. Pretty much my entire 25-year career, I have worked for business-to-business companies, usually billion-dollar-plus companies, and I've done all sorts of jobs. I've been a sales trainer. I've run customer service groups. But the last 15 years of my career, I've run marketing and product management for big companies. And when I say big, I mean current corporation's about $9 billion. I run a $3.5 billion division of it for brand and PR and marketing. And so, doing podcasts or a website or videos is like right up my alley. I love it. But that's my full-time job. And that's what gives me benefits and retirement and, pays my mortgage, and for us to live on. And yes, pretty much 99% of the referees I know, actually, aside from the professionals in the MLS, the few that I know, I actually don't know of any referees who do refereeing as a full-time job. Everyone does it as a side gig. And even the people who are refereeing in the USL Championship and are video assistant referees, or even assistant referees in the MLS, that's usually not their full-time job. Only the people who are the MLS officials, the centers there, usually can do that as a full-time job. Everyone else is doing it as a part-time job just because it doesn't pay enough. It just straight up does not pay enough. I mean, maybe you can make $25,000 a year as a USL center official, but oh my gosh, you are sacrificing like every weekend of your life. You're on a plane, you're flying someplace else. I mean, you're working out hardcore during the week to do that, and it is definitely still not enough to live on. I mean, you could say, oh, you could live on 25 grand. Yeah, good luck. Seriously, or have a family or something like that, or other people you need to provide for. It is definitely not a full-time gig until you get to the show. So just say that it's not easy. So when you see those referees out there doing those matches for those USL championship games, those USL 1, USL 2, whatnot, and they look phenomenal, those people are still, they're working, probably multiple games on the weekend as a referee. They're flying all over the place, and they're still doing their full-time job during the week as well. Have you found, it's the next question, have you found it difficult to balance refereeing with your other work as well as your Refs Need Love 2 work? And does it ever lead to burnout or feel overwhelming? This is a great question. So refereeing, I think in general, you can choose the hours that you want to work. And so I know, and my wife knows, that at least one day of the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, I want to work 3 games. And there's so much soccer here in Atlanta, I can always do that. And that's kind of, what I want to do. Do I want to do 6 games a weekend? Not necessarily, because that can certainly be overwhelming. I've got responsibilities here at my house. I want to hang out with my kids. I want to hang out with my wife. So I can't ref all the time. It's the same thing. We're about to start getting going with the high school season. Well, the high school season, the games are during the week. And so usually the main time I get to see my family is when we have dinner together during the week. My wife is phenomenal, and she always, cooks home cooked meals, and we try and sit down as a family and have dinner together. And right now my eldest son has gone off to college, but I still have 2 more in high school. And that's when we catch up and we find out what's been going on at school, or who's hanging out with who, or whatever's going on. Or, it's good time to commune and collect. So I have to really limit my high school refereeing maybe to one night during the week. I could ref every night of the week if I wanted to. There's that many games out there, but I don't, because I need to balance my personal life and my refereeing life, and my full-time job life, which is definitely a full-time job, 50, 60 hours a week. I leave my house for my full-time job at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. I don't get home until 5:30, 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. at night, depending on what time I leave work. So I've got to make sure that there's a balance between my hobby, and that is what it is, refereeing, and my full-time job and my family. My family comes first, my full-time job comes second, and referee comes third. No matter how much I love it, I have to keep it in balance and in perspective. Now, I will tell you, the Refs Need Love 2 stuff definitely can be overwhelming. I mean, I feel an inner desire to always want to commune with my followers and subscribers out there to my channels, to always be putting out content, especially relevant content. When something happens today, I want to put out a video today to talk about it, because I know other people are curious about my perspective on it. But just like refereeing, and even more so for the Refs Need Love 2, like just this podcast right now, it definitely becomes overwhelming and too much, and I need to step away. Actually, I've been talking to my wife And I know this might be sad for you guys. I don't know, whatever. But I think I'm going to be taking the month really from like Christmas all the way through the end of January and maybe into February off of all Refs Need Love 2 activity, all refereeing activity, just to, give it a break for a while, because it definitely is a little bit of an obsession for me. I love doing it, but I think it can be too much, and it's not good for me personally, my mental well-being, and for my family. So yes, it can be overwhelming, and I can feel burnt out. Is refereeing a viable source of supplementing income for you, or are you mainly reliant on the pay from your other job? That's a great question. So yes, definitely relying on pay from my other job. And again, my other job has, great benefits, healthcare benefits, retirement benefits, all those things as well. But it is fun money. So, annually, I think from just refereeing fees, forget about Refs Need Love 2, side hustle thing. But refereing fees, I probably earn, $5,000 to $7,000 a year from my refereeing. I'm trying to think, it might be more than that. But I get paid by like 8 different leagues. So it's always really hard to add it all up and see what it is. But, yeah, that's nice. It's nice to have, that extra income. It's grocery money. It's a really nice vacation money. So yeah, I love having it, and it's nice to be paid for the time that I'm out there on the pitch. I do what I love and I get paid for it. That's awesome. Okay, last question here. Overall, do you enjoy the lifestyle of having a primary job and refereeing in addition to that? Yeah, I love that. I love being out in my community as a referee, because I see my fellow parents, other soccer parents who I've been, parents on the sideline with for years out there, and they're thrilled to see me out there on the pitch. They know it's going to be a fair match or well reffed. I love seeing the kids in my community out there on the pitch, kids that I've known for like 10, 15 years, or, I've seen them as little kids and now I see them out there on the pitch. It always brings me joy. Other referees that I've reffed with, and then I see them as players. I love that too. So I love being a part of the community as a soccer referee. I really, really do. I think it's a good thing. I think it helps to, again, humanize the referee when people know the person who's out there reffing. And it's just, I think it's a very positive thing overall. So those were the 4 main questions that this young gentleman wrote to me, and I just wanted to share my answers with you. I have met just fascinating people as a referee. I have reffed with screenwriters, who've written movies. I just watched one this summer that was written by someone I've reffed with. I ref with a judge, like an actual judge. And so funny, I've been on the, the jury on one of the trials that he's run. It was fascinating to get him see him as a judge. He's a phenomenal referee too. I've reffed with CEOs of companies, people, literally CEOs of big companies, who referee as well. I ref with IT security, cybersecurity professionals. I've met so many interesting people as a referee, and that is one of the cool things, of the job, is getting to meet someone new. Whether meeting someone in high school or I'm meeting someone who's retired and doing this for fun, it is just a joy to get to meet all sorts of different people as a referee, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I want to do it for as long as I possibly can. And even when I can't run anymore, maybe I can still do futsal. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's pod. As I mentioned, to be a top referee requires sacrifice and investments. It's a sacrifice of time and an investment into your personal fitness and knowledge of the game. I encourage you to stretch yourself and try new things. Maybe futsal isn't for you, but try something else. It is good for you and good for your brain. If you like the show and my content, please consider supporting me by purchasing some merch from refsneedlove2.com or Instagram or TikTok. The pod, the website, and everything else I do has a cost beyond just my time. Purchases from the store help me cover the cost of doing this, and I love doing it for as long as I can, even if I will take a break early in the next year. All right, good luck on the pitch, and I hope your next game is red card free.